Good morning, everyone. I am Dr. Gauri Bankar, Assistant Professor of Department of Ophthalmology. Today we'll be discussing the topic that is diseases of lid. Firstly, the eyebrow. The eyebrows are present just above the eye at the orbital margin. Frontalis and group of facial muscles play important role in facial expression. They maintain the contour of the eyebrow. They are innervated by the temporal branch of facial nerve. The skin and fibroadiposes are the thickest layer. The orbicularis muscle is depressor of the eyebrow and has protective function and help in tight closure of the eye. Coming to anatomy of the lid, it is a mobile curtain in front of the eye and divided into upper and lower lid. Lids have orbital part and tarsal part. Lid crease is formed by fibrous slip from the levator palpebrae superioris into the lid skin 4 mm above the tarsus plate. Coming to lid parts, lid is mobile curtain in front of the eye and it has skin and subcutaneous tissue, eyelid margin, muscles for protraction, orbital septum, orbital fat, muscles of retraction, tarsus and conjunctiva. So protractors of the lid. The orbicularis oculi muscle is the main protractor of the lid. The contracture of the muscle narrows the palpebral fissure. This muscle also constitutes for the lacrimal pump and it is innervated by seventh nerve. It is divided into pretarsal, preseptal and orbital part. At eyelid margin, specialized bundle of striated muscle fibers, the muscle of Reolin, lies more posterior than the orbicularis and creates a gray line. It may play role in propelling meibomian glandular discharge, blinking and positions of the eyelashes. So it is divided into orbital part, preseptal and pretarsal part. Coming to anatomy, layers of the lid. The lids are covered anteriorly by skin and posteriorly by the mucous membrane known as conjunctiva. The lids contain muscle, gland, blood vessel and nerves all bound together by connective tissue. The connective tissue is formed posteriorly where it forms a stiff plate called as tarsus. The thin edge of the lids is called as margin. The intermarginal strip, it is a transition between the skin and conjunctiva. The anterior border of the lid margin is rounded and posterior border, which is in contact with the globe, is a sharp. On the margin are the two rows of cilia. They are short, strong curved hairs. In upper lid, they are directed upwards and outwards, and in lower lid, they are curved outwards and downwards. At the margins are the sebaceous follicles known as glands of Zeiss. The sweat glands at the margin are glands of mole. They do not open directly on the margin but at the root of cilia. Anterior to the posterior border, the ducts of meibomian glands open and they are seen as tiny orifices. Between the orifices and the anterior border is the fine gray line which is important in lead operations as it indicates the position of loose, relatively avascular fibrous tissue between the orbicularis palpebrum and the tarsus. The tarsus is dense fibrous tissue. Embedded in them are the Meibomian glands. They are sebaceous glands, about 20 to 30 in each lead. The LPS is inserted into the upper border of the tarsus. The molar muscle, which also arises from under surface of LPS, is inserted in the upper border of tarsus. While in case of lower lid, the inferior rectus and the inferior oblique send a fascia which attaches to the lower border of the tarsus. Lymphatic drainage from the upper medial one-third of the upper lid and medial two-third of the lower lid drain in submandibular node, and the upper lateral one-third and lower lateral two-third drain in periauricular lymph nodes. So the tarsus plate is formed by dense fibrous tissue. The LPS is inserted into the upper border of tarsus. The molar muscle, which also arises from under surface of the LPS and is inserted into the upper border of the tarsus. And the lymphatic drainage we already discussed. So there are many type of glands in the lead. Meibomian glands, which are modified sebaceous glands present on the posterior part of the stroma of the tarsal plate, which are 30 to 40 in upper lid and 20 to 30 in the lower lid. They secrete oily substances. There are glands of Zeiss, which are sebaceous glands at the margin. Coming to palpebral aperture, it is elliptical. At birth, it is about 18 to 21 millimeter by 8 millimeter in height, and in adults, it is horizontally 28 to 30 millimeter and 9 to 11 millimeter vertically. Normal movements of the lids are blink and wink. The peculiarity of the skin of the lid, it is very thin. So lid movements are easy like blink. The laxity occurs with aging because of the thin skin. Its loose attachment, so edema, either inflammatory or passive, are very common. There is absence of subcutaneous fat and it is covered with fine downy hairs, and there are no sweat glands. Coming to functions of the lid, first is protection of the eyeball by reflex closure, even distribution of the tear film which occurs due to lid movements. It helps in propagating tears to medial canthus so that it can be drained into the nasolacrimal duct. It helps in working of the lacrimal pump. It contributes to the feature of individual. It relays information regarding wakefulness and attention of the individual. Coming to blinking, to open and close the eye, spatially involuntary with rapidity and repeatedly is called as blinking. Spontaneous blinking occurs every 3 to 8 seconds with average of 12 blinks per minute. Lid closure is a result of activity co-inhibition of two groups of muscle, the protractors of the lid, that is orbicularis oculi, corrugator and procerus, and voluntary retractors of the eye, that is frontalis and LPS. The orbicularis muscle is thought to be responsible for spontaneous blinking. It maintains the normal ocular surface. It initiates the cycle of secretion, dispersal and evaporation and drainage of the tear, closure of the eyelid, occlude the puncta, thus preventing fluid regurgitation. And the delayed blinking results in dry eye. Coming to lacrimal pump, During blink, the muscle of the lid compresses the canaliculi and the sac and force the fluid down the nasolacrimal duct. When lids open, they create a negative pressure, sucking the tears in the canaliculi. Coming to sensory reflex blepharospasm. The sensory reflex blepharospasm is of two types. First is due to bright light in case of inflammation of the uveal tissue or iritis, and second due to conjunctival or corneal irritation due to foreign body. The patient may complain of photophobia or intolerance to bright light, foreign body sensation, or vague discomfort. The differentiation between the blepharospasm due to photophobia and foreign body can be done in a dark room. In case of due to bright light, it will be abolished, while on with foreign body, it will continue. So treatment of the cause. If there is iritis, it should be treated. If there is foreign body should be removed. Coming to idiopathic facial nerve palsy, its incidence is 25 per 1 lakh cases. It must be differentiated from infectious, inflammatory, neoplastic, traumatic, and conjunctival etiology. It may lead to corneal exposure and lubrication problems. Mild exposure needs lubrication with tear substitute, and severe exposure of the eyeball may require tarsorrhaphy. Coming to congenital abnormalities of the lid, the appearance of the lid folds marks the beginning of the eyelid development during the 6th and 7th week of gestation, and the incomplete eyelid fold development is thought to be the cause of for the number of congenital eyelid abnormalities. The common abnormalities are: first is epicanthal fold. So they are vertical folds of the skin which extend from the upper or lower lid towards the canthus. There are tarsalis, palpebralis, inversus, and superciliaris. There are four types. So palpebralis, the folds are symmetrically distributed between the upper and lower lid and seen in Caucasians. Tarsalis, the fold originates from the medial aspect of the upper lid and extends medially to the canthus, which are commonly seen in Oriental. And inversus, it is associated with blepharophimosis syndrome. The fold starts in the lower lid and extends upward to the medial canthus. Next is coloboma of the lid. Coloboma are uncommon unilateral or bilateral or full thickness defects. It occurs when the eyelid development is incomplete due to either failure of migration of the lid ectoderm to fuse the lid folds or to mechanical forces such as amniotic band. Upper lid colobomas appear at the junction of medial and inner one-third. The lower lid colobomas are at the junction of medial and outer one-third. The treatment is primary closure, and large defects may require skin grafting. Next is ankyloblepharon. The upper and lower lid are joined by a thin tag, and treatment is transection of the tag. Next is euroblepharon, the horizontal enlargement of the palpebral fissure, which are associated uh, lateral canthus malposition and lateral ectropion. Third is congenital upper lid eversion. It is a rare condition seen in children with congenital ichthyosis and Down syndrome, and is mostly in Afro-Caribbean origin people. So another are eublepharon, where there are no leads, cryptoblepharon, and microblepharon. Common diseases of the lid can be allergic, second is infection, blepharitis, chalazion, parasitic infections, inflammations like edema, misdirection of the eyelashes, that is trichiasis, anomalies of lid position, that is ptosis, entropion, ectropion, and trichiasis, and lid tumors. Coming to allergic dermatitis, it can be airborne or contact due to application of local medication or cosmetics. It leads to inflammation of the lids and surrounding area of face. The treatment is avoidance of the offending cause, anti-allergic medication, and local application. Infective conditions. So blepharitis can be anterior and posterior. The glands which are inflamed cause stye, chalazion, lid abscesses, preseptal cellulitis, and molluscum. Coming to blepharitis. So blepharitis, it is a chronic inflammation of the margin of the lid. It is divided into two forms, anterior and posterior forms. The anterior forms include seborrheic or squamous or ulcerative types. The causes are chronic conjunctivitis due to staphylococcal infection, due to parasite blepharitis acarica due to Demox follicularum. The seborrheic or squamous blepharitis is manifest as small white scales which accumulates among the eyelashes. When the scales are removed, the margins appears hyperemic but is not ulcerated. The condition may be associated with dandruff of the skull. The cause requires the treatment, that is treatment of the chronic conjunctivitis, and case of dandruff, lid cleaning solution and shampoos can be prescribed. Coming to ulcerative blepharitis, it is infective condition and is usually due to staphylococcus. The yellow crust glued to the eyelashes together and removing them, the small bleeding ulcers can be seen. The symptoms are redness at the edges of the lid, itching, soreness, lacrimation, and photophobia. The differential diagnosis is conjunctivitis, in which removing of the crust do not reveal any bleeding ulcers. The treatment is removal of the crust by softening with the 3% bicarbonate solution and cleaning the lid margins and removing the eyelashes. The antibiotic eye ointment is applied. This has to be continued for 2 months as the infection is at the root of the hair and has to be completely eliminated. The sequelae of ulcerative blepharitis, that is destruction of hair follicle resulting in the loss of eyelashes with mydorosis. If ulcers are large, then on healing there is cicatricial tissue which may give rise to misdirection of the eyelashes called as trichiasis. The edge of the lid may become hypertrophied and droops down, which is called as tylosis. In case of lower lid, the conjunctiva may be drawn over the margin by the cicatricial tissue and it may cause epiphora. The epiphora may cause eczema of the lid skin, and eventually, due to constant rubbing, this may lead to ectropion. Meibomian seborrheic and Meibomianitis. The oil droplets are seen at the meibomian gland opening, which can be expressed out like a foam. They affect the quality of the tear film. Meibomianitis, there is diffuse rounded posterior lid margin and thickening around meibomian gland opening. The lid massage expresses out the toothpaste-like material from the glands. The treatment is warm compresses, lid massages, doxycycline 100 mg OD for 6 weeks. Coming to molluscum and preseptal cellulitis. The molluscum is a small white umbilicated swelling, generally multiple due to large pox virus from which the substance like sebum can be expressed. They produce severe conjunctivitis along with the keratitis. It is intractable to treatment unless primary nodule on the lid margin is dealt with. It should be incised and expressed out and cauterized with iodine or the carbolic acid. Preseptal cellulitis is a bacterial infection of the eyelid anterior to the orbital septum. The cause may be trauma, spread of infection from the surrounding structures, and it is characterized by acute pain, swelling of the lid. The lids become edematous with signs of inflammation, redness, raised temperature. It may spread backwards and affect vision or intracranial spread can occur. Um, in some cases, this can cause cavernous sinus thrombosis. Treated with broad spectrum antibiotics and non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. Coming to pityriasis palpebrum, the crab louse from the pubic hair cause is the cause. The infected person transfers the lice from the another hairy area such as chest, axilla, or eyelids. It affects the children or person living in poor hygienic condition. Symptoms: itching and irritation. Signs: the lice are anchored by their claws to the eyelashes. The ova appears as brownish opalescent pearls adherent to the base of the lashes. Treatment is mechanical removal and application of mercuric oxide 1% petroleum jelly twice a day for 10 days. Inflammation of glands of the lid, stye or the hordeolum externum. It is a suppurative infection of the glands of Zeiss. Hordeolum internum, which is a suppurative inflammation of the meibomian gland, and chalazion, which is a chronic inflammatory granuloma of the meibomian gland. Coming to stye, it is suppurative inflammation of the gland of Zeiss. It is painful condition. Here the gland becomes swollen, hard and painful at the edge of the lid becomes edematous. The abscess forms which points at the base of the cilia. The pain is considerable until the pus is removed. The treatment is hot fomentation, antibiotics, analgesics and anti-inflammatory drugs, epilation of the eyelash. The diabetes should be ruled out in elderly cases. Next is hordeolum internum. It is a suppurative inflammation of the meibomian glands. The symptoms are more severe than the stye. Sometimes it may burst and treatment is incision and drainage along with the routine treatment with antibiotics and anti-inflammatory drugs. Coming to chalazion, it is known as tarsal cyst or meibomial cyst. It is not cyst but a chronic inflammatory granuloma of the meibomian gland. They are multiple and appear in crops. They are more common in adults than children. This is the glandular tissue is replaced by granulation tissue. Clinical features: hard painless swelling in the either lid, increases gradually in size without inflammatory signs and symptoms. Sometimes it may cause irritation and discharge. The patient usually complains of swelling in the lid. If the lid is everted, the conjunctiva is red and purple over the swelling. Later, it may become gray. If the infection occurs, it becomes yellow. The change in color of because of the change of granulation tissue, which becomes jelly-like mass. So they may become smaller over the year and disappear. They may get secondary infected. The contents may be extruded to the conjunctiva in case the fungating mass or granulation tissue can be seen as granuloma. The treatment is incision and curettage under local anesthesia. So if recurrence is seen, malignancy should be ruled out. Eruptions: herpes zoster ophthalmicus, herpes simplex, erysipelas, eczema, and impetigo. So we already discussed about the this parasite infection. Coming to blepharospasm, it is forcible, involuntary, sustained, and forcible closure of the lid. It may be of two types: essential, which occurs spontaneously, and second is reflex, which is precipitated by sensory stimuli. Essential blepharospasm, which is insidious in onset in 45 to 60 years of patients, can be seen as tics and spasm. Treatment is botulinum toxin, increasing, incising the branches of facial nerve, excision of orbicularis and corrugator muscles can be done. Coming to trichiasis, which is a misdirection of the eyelash, which rub against the cornea. Symptoms of foreign body sensation, spasm, watering, redness, and sometimes diminution of vision. The cause is irritation, trachoma, spasm, chemical burn, operations, restrictive inflammation. Complication can be corneal abrasion and ulcer. Treatment is epilation, diathermy, or electrolysis. Benign essential blepharospasm. It is bilateral involuntary spasmodic forced eyelid closure, which typically present in fifth and seventh decade of life. It is absent during sleep, may be due to abnormality of the basal ganglia, and repeated administration of botulinum toxin type A, that is Botox injection, is a treatment of choice. Thank you.